Welcome to the Fascia-Informed Therapist, the essential podcast for occupational therapy professionals looking to deepen their understanding of fascia's pivotal role in therapy and health. I'm your host, Amy Mayer, an experienced occupational therapist, practice owner, and dedicated educator. Here we'll dive into the fascinating world of fascia, exploring its significance in the human body and its critical influence on occupational therapy practice. Each episode will bring you cutting-edge insights, expert interviews, and practical strategies to help you confidently integrate the science of fascia into your therapeutic approach. Whether you're a seasoned practitioner or just starting out, our goal is to equip you with high-quality, evidence-based, and fascia-informed continuing education opportunities that will enhance your skills and benefit your clients. So join us as we unravel the complexities of fascia and transform the way you practice occupational therapy. All health and wellness practitioners are welcome. Let's learn, grow, and evolve together. Hi, this is Amy, and this is another edition of the Fascia-Informed Therapist. And today I would love to talk about the healing trajectory. That is a hard word to say, trajectory. We've all seen that the little picture that's out there on the internet right now of the little graph, and how the graph, typically we think of the healing trajectory as the graph, that the line that starts in the bottom left-hand corner and then goes straight up to the right-hand corner. And that's how we would all love to heal from whatever injury or issue we have at any given time. But we see the other picture of how it really is, where that line doesn't just go straight from the bottom left up to the top right. It stops and it squiggles and it loop-de-loops and it moves all over the place, and it might backtrack a little bit, and then it might keep going up or it might go down again. However it's depicted, that is, of course, more the reality of healing. And I think what tends to happen when we don't explain it to our clients from that perspective of fascia and how the body really heals, rather, what I've heard my clients tell me is it's often more of a blame game. Well, you must not be doing your exercises. Well, you must be eating a lot of junk food. You really need to give up that Mountain Dew. Or whatever it is, you need to exercise more, you need to walk more, you need to do the 13 pages of handouts that I gave you. Well, that's why you're not getting better. And yes, I have had a client come to me with 13 pages of home exercise programs with multiple exercises on each page, front and back. And yes, we counted them. We can. Sometimes it is their fault. Sometimes they don't care. Sometimes they just go home and don't do anything we ask them to do. And then they are not being part of the process. They have, I think, the wrong image of what therapy is, which is come to me once a week or 3 times a week or whatever the frequency and duration is, and I will fix you. That is not therapy. That is not therapy from what I consider it to be anyway. Therapy is a team sport, and the client needs to be involved as much as they possibly can in the process, and we should be educating them about what they can do to improve their own outcomes. Now, sometimes do people just want to come in and have it done to them, and they're not going to have whatever done to them, and want to hope for the best because life is too busy, or somebody else is paying for it or whatever, they don't care. Fine, but we need to have the ability and take the time to educate our clients about the healing trajectory. They all want to feel better as quickly as possible, but helping them understand from a fascial science perspective can really, really be empowering. And it can create patience, it can create buy-in, And it can help them move along at whatever pace they're comfortable with, because not everybody's going to be comfortable with the same timeline of healing. Some people have, well, we know that. That's a given. Okay, so how does fascia science help people understand their healing trajectory and the power they have over it? Well, the first basic piece is that the body is all interconnected, and it's all interconnected via the fascial system. So if you are working with someone with carpal tunnel, for example, the traditional way of looking at it is, well, we've got a little problem in the wrist here that we're going to fix up. And yeah, the problem might be exactly right there in the wrist. They may have definitely an ergonomic issue that needs to be looked at and taken care of. However, do we want to help them fix that carpal tunnel issue in 3 visits, or do we want it to take 10? We can often speed up the process by looking at the body and the person as a whole. And occupational therapy practitioners, I think, do a great job at this. Other disciplines certainly look at the whole body as well, but not necessarily in the way that we do, because we're looking at not just the exercises they do or the ergonomics. We're looking at everything that they're doing in their daily occupations as well, and how they're doing it. And that can often be something that can really help somebody understand. And an example I'll give is back when I was doing all the ergonomic assessments for Creighton University and the associated hospital, I had a lady who it was an carpal tunnel issue. But she had great ergonomics, and she had great posture, and she was using everything in the way that it was designed to be used. And she was very frustrated, and she was in therapy and workers' comp therapy. And I came in and did another ergonomic assessment for her to see if we could figure anything else out. And like, well, what do you do at home? And she started telling me how she had a couple grandchildren coming, and every night she was crocheting those blankies to be ready for when those kids were being born. And so there's something more global going on that is feeding into her experience of pain, but everybody's looking pretty microscopically at her desk and her wrist and how she's using her hands and using her arms. So that's one way. That's not necessarily a fascia thing, of course, but it's a way of looking more broadly, zooming out and looking at the problem. Well, if we look at it from a fascial perspective, of the fascia being a whole body system, but all this tension is being expressed in this place where most of the action is happening, right? Well, her mousing and typing, and then all her crocheting. Also thinking about all the sitting that this woman is doing, all the sitting that she's doing at work, all the sitting that she's doing at home. We know at work she's got a great desk, everything's set up great for her. She's a highly valued employee. But what happens when she gets home? Okay, now she's sitting on this really soft couch, and she's putting herself in a very hips tucked under, spine in a C-shape type position. And there's a lot of other kinds of tension being built up. She's not a great exerciser. She doesn't have, she's got the standard American diet. She's got all this inflammation probably coming into her body from that as well. So how can we take what we know from the fascia and say, okay, well, I wonder if we took some of the tension out of the rest of your body, that the wrist issue might heal more quickly. Because if she's got a lot of tension in her low back and her hips, in her neck and shoulders, then that is definitely going to potentially pull into that space as well. When we think about the tension being other places in the body, it's all connected. It's going to pull up through that shoulder and down into that arm as well. So if we asked her to do some really simple stretching exercises, would that make a difference? Quite potentially, yes. We typically would give somebody with carpal tunnel some forearm stretches. That would be the most commonly given out stretch. But what if we ask her to weave in once or twice a day, 3 minutes of stretching her hips, her body, a kitchen sink stretch, for example. The reverse kitchen sink stretch would be an easy thing to give her if she's someone who's already going to be in her kitchen making dinner for she and her spouse. Then that's an easy place we could layer that in. And I wonder if we layer that in for her, if her carpal tunnel, that's not probably going to fix her carpal tunnel, but is it going to make her carpal tunnel heal faster? Is it going to improve her healing trajectory? It just might. And I can tell you that is absolutely true in my practice. So explaining to her how the body can be getting tight, which is one of the simplest ways to explain the fascia, that interconnectedness, and how they have more power to reduce the tension, because she might have other issues in her body that she hasn't told you about because she thinks your only job is to fix her wrist. So that's one example. Another example is I have a lady that I work with. She's wonderful. And she has had a lifetime of building a business, running a business, sitting at a desk, sitting at a computer, long hours at work, at home, building and running this business, and a lot of high stress has created a lot of tension in her body. She's a person who probably when she was in all that didn't really do a lot of self-care, has since gotten into a place in her life where she can do more self-care. She does some myofascial self-treatment with the balls. She does a little bit of yoga at home, a few stretches that I've taught her, a lot of walking the dog, things like that. But a year ago, she had an injury where she had fallen onto something very hard on the outside of her thigh and created this really unusual injury where everything was just kind of stuck together at this sort of this lateral part of her IT band or outer thigh. And above that then was a lot of tissue that couldn't move easily. Very interesting injury. And she also noticed that, I want to backtrack just a second. When she went to her physician, the physician said, "Wow, never seen anything like that. That's interesting. I don't really think there's anything we can do for it. So why don't you come back in a year and we'll see if we need to get you to a surgeon that needs to remove some of that scarring. But maybe it'll work itself out." Well, she finally decided to come and see me, and we've been working on it, and she kind of came ebb and flowed a little bit, some intensity, and then would sort of back off a little bit because busy life, right? And one of the things that she would notice when she stopped working on the stretches that I gave her or coming in, that pretty soon above the injury, her hip was really bothering her. She was having a hard time sleeping because of that. She was having a hard time below that with her knee. So we'll come back in, we work on it, we try to take the tension out, she gets back to her exercises, and pretty soon everything's feeling better again. And also that scar, that injury, looks really good. At first, when she had this injury, she could be wearing a pair of pants and you could tell something was going on there. There was this dip and then there was this bulge on the outside of her thigh. And then now she can wear shorts and you can barely tell that it's there. But she does have to stay on top of it because it is still there. It looks better externally, but there is most definitely still adhesions under the skin that I can feel, she can feel, and she's still working on. However, again, life ebbs and flows, and recently she had an issue where she was playing pickleball. Good old pickleball, so many injuries, oh my gosh. Where she was standing in a ready position to accept a serve, and that same side cramped up really bad. The other side was fine. The left, or not, I don't think it's her left. I can't remember which side it is right now, but that calf cramped in a way that took her down. And a cramp is often a part of the body that's already tight, and then you're asking it to work even harder. So she was forward in her toes on both sides, but it was the side of the other injury that cramped up. And contacted me after a couple days, or was it the next day? I can't remember now, but wanted to know what I thought. And we decided it was very likely a cramp and not any kind of another injury, but I encouraged her to go get it looked at if she had any fear of anything worse happening. And she decided she did not want to do that, and just to give it another day or so to see what happened. And she started healing fairly quickly. It's been a few weeks now, and she texted me wanting to know it was still bothering her and why hadn't it healed already. And not, well, she didn't put it exactly like that. It was more like, what should I expect? Shouldn't I be getting better by now? And she was saying it was, and I asked her a couple questions. Is it still tender? Are you able to functionally move? And she said, yes, I can walk around without pain. It's just really tender when I push on it. And I'm like, okay. So you have to think about your healing trajectory with something in that part of your body is going to look really different than other parts of your body potentially, because you have to get around. And if she can move normally without pain, well, then what happens when you forget that you have this injury and you're moving around without pain, and then you twist it just right or just wrong, I guess, or you maybe skip up a step or step down, doing something that maybe isn't as typical as just a walk or walking around your home, then you might have these little teeny re-injuries. And then I'm also reminding her that it can stiffen up at night, and you have to stretch before you get out of bed and before you put your feet on the floor. And I think she does a good job of that. And then the other reminder is, well, you've got that major injury above it that's going to constantly be putting that still underlying scarring that needs to be worked out. That, and who knows whether that's ever going to completely come out of there, if that's going to be something that she has to have an awareness of for the rest of her life, potentially. So being aware that your trajectory is gonna go up into that right-hand corner really quickly sometimes, but then there might be a little backtrack because you stepped on it wrong, or something else happened, or you had to stand on a hard flat surface and talk to people in dress shoes. It's something that you didn't necessarily feel you should do, but your life called for it. So she understands, it's very clear to her that because she loves to hear about the science and what's going on and how her body works. And when sometimes I have to remind my clients that, remember when we talked about this, and remember how this works, and then they're like, okay, yeah. So that has helped her understand her healing trajectory. So my purpose with this particular episode of the podcast is to let the people know, the therapist, the therapy assistants, the practitioners who are listening to this, that fascia science can be super helpful in helping your clients understand and be patient with their healing trajectory, but also what else they can do to speed up that trajectory. And that is often moving, stretching, moving probably differently from how they are now. And in that course they have, that I will make no bones about it, I would love every practitioner to take that course, because it's a super practical look at fascia science. And it's not just the fascia science about the anatomy and the physiology of the fascial system, but also a lot of the intervention strategies that we're already doing, and how that connects back with the science, and how the fascia plays a part in all that, and how with some little tweaks that we can do to communicate, to educate, and to change and shift how we're approaching those things, those activities, those intervention strategies, to not only affect what we believe we're affecting, often muscles, joints, but to change it, tweak it to also affect the fascial system, which covers and surrounds all those other things. I believe we can make a pretty significant difference with some very small tweaks. And then I'm also super curious. The more therapists and practitioners that understand this science, the more creative ways we'll figure out on how we can use this information to do even more creative things. I've worked in a lot of different practice areas, and but there's no way I can possibly think of all the ways that this can apply. But I can think of like 70,000 for starters. So, okay, that's enough for today. I have many, many examples of healing trajectories and interesting cases with clients, but I would love to keep this short so people will actually listen. Thank you so much, and I hope everybody has a really great day. Thank you for tuning in to the Fascia-Informed Therapist. It's been a pleasure sharing insights and strategies to help you integrate fascia science into your practice. I'm Amy Mayer, and I hope today's episode has inspired you to explore further and take your therapeutic skills to the next level. Remember, we're committed to creating and providing top-notch, evidence-based, fascia-informed continuing education that empowers you as an occupational therapy practitioner. Stay connected with us for more enriching content, and don't forget to check out our online courses to deepen your expertise. Until next time, keep expanding your knowledge, refining your skills, and confidently applying the science of fascia to your practice. Here's to advancing together in health and wellness.